Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
LaMarr Darnell Shields.
What's up, Sound Bombing community? To all of my bombers, to all of my healers that are out there, I hope that you are staying safe. I hope that you are following what the CDC has been saying to all of us, and that's being aware of your surrounding, social distancing. And social distancing does not mean that you can't call people. It does not mean that you can't check on people. It doesn't mean that you can't take a walk or move around your neighborhood. We want you to move. We want you to stay healthy, but we want you to stay at a distance. We also want you to be mindful of eating healthy foods that are going to build your immune system. Call those individuals, check on them, check on the people that you might have not have spoken to in a very long time. Wash your hands, just be mindful and be aware, and then check on your neighbors. What I'm loving right now lately, my neighbors and I have gotten so close, and I think that this is a beautiful part about what's happening here, because you have to find some beauty underneath the burning rubble and the ashes. And so every time my neighbor goes out, he is constantly checking in and say, hey, do you need anything? Does the family need anything? And so I'm so grateful and honored to have some amazing neighbors, not only just in my community, but also in my business community. Also, I want to thank you all for tuning in and send me the great email responses. You all love the interview with Marjorie Nicole. For those that have not listened to that, we did a show with a designer by the name of Marjorie Nicole, and she runs a company called Insa Designs, an Insa African boutique. And that entire show was about talking to individuals who are being very, very creative during the COVID-19 pandemic. And what Marjorie did is she created these African masks. She used these African prints directly from the continent, all over the continent in places that she visited. And she decided to use her talents to then really support. And every time she sells one, she gives one away. And we know that now the CDC and also the government officials saying it's good to have some type of material over your face. And we also know that there is a shortage. So shout out to Marjorie Nicole and Insa for actually supplying those masks. And just as always, bombers, my healers in the communities, I am always excited about the new people that decided to join me in the bomb shelter. As I say all the time, I got some of the most amazing people in my network, my friend network, my spiritual network, my social network, my online network, and we bring on these individuals who are rock stars in their own right. Those individuals who are doing some amazing things. And for those of you all know, I am two things I don't play around with. I don't play around with my food, the healthy foods that go into my body, and my spirit or spirituality. And I'm not talking about church or religion, and I'm talking about healing our spirits and our minds. And I believe that life is a sacred journey. You know, we are spiritual beings living a human existence on our mother that we call the earth. Yet, daily we are challenged to make choices that shift the balance between our spiritual lives and our human needs. Sometimes we lose sight of our direction and goals and our spiritual goals, and demanding lives, overwhelming challenges, illnesses, and loss may become heavy burdens. We can lose touch with our spiritual connection. We forget that life is a precious gift. We forget that we are precious, and we forget that we are sacred beings. So on this episode of Sound Bombing, you will hear from Mark Hernandez, the owner and founder of People and Pets Energetics. And he's going to help you reconnect with your spiritual self and your innate healing nature as a holistic practitioner that helps people and animals. Did you hear me? I said people and animals that have hit the wall. And I'm sure many of you all with this COVID-19, you have hit the wall. My teachers, my health workers, my social workers, I'm sure many of you all have hit the wall with health and well-being issues. Mark uses non-invasive energy medicine, modalities, and tools to help his clients experience change in a gentle and safe fashion. At times, they experience changes immediately, and in other instances, over time. Mark is certified in the emotion code, the body code, and advanced ash work. He has talked about and demonstrated his work at the San Antonio Microsoft Store at events such as the Body Shop Spirit Expo, the San Antonio Holistic Festival, and numerous holistic fairs in the greater Chicago area and the Midwest. He has also been guest online radio shows in which he discusses his work, his holistic practitioner, and does many healings with live callers. But in 2019, Mark launched the People and Pets Show, a weekly online radio show where he interviews leading figures in energy medicine, energy healings for people, animals, and spaces. Day by day, people are choosing to assume a greater role in their own health and well-being. Mark's work helps people experience more health, happiness, and joy in their everyday lives. And he is in the bomb shelter today that's going to help you get yourself back together during this COVID-19. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, LaMarr, thank you. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be with you and your community.
Man, Mark, so you are in the greatest city on the planet, the city that I represent, the great city of Chicago, but I know your work expands throughout the Midwest. First of all, let's talk about healing energy. What is energy healing?
Yeah, so energy healing is an approach to health and wellness in which the practitioner, we tap into the invisible energy fields, the subtle energy fields, to bring back more balance and harmony. You know, all of us, we definitely have a physical body that's very 3D. As I always tell people, you know, don't test it out, run in front of a car. You're very physical on that level. And at another level, we're really energy, pure energy. They're kind of popping in and out of this dimension. So energy medicine, energy healing looks at the energetic blueprint, the energy of a person, the energetic blueprint, and identifies and releases non-beneficial energies that are locking in place people's stuff. What we know is that often people's stuff, imbalances start out on the energetic blueprint, and over time can then show up on the physical body as dis-ease or pain often. So energy healing will rebalance that energetic blueprint, release the non-beneficial energies, so people return to harmony, balance, and experience more peace, joy, and happiness.
I liked how you used a word that I constantly talk about, and you sort of broke it up. You didn't say disease, you said dis-ease. Can you just unpack that word dis-ease, not disease, for our listeners out there?
Yeah. So dis-ease is another way of saying imbalances in the energy field. The energy field can get imbalanced, that blueprint, for a variety of reasons. The two most common reasons I see for the dis-ease and imbalance are negative trapped emotions, unprocessed anger, grief, resentment, love unreceived, jealousy. Maybe 2 days ago, maybe 2 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, and in some instances, this is inherited from the ancestors. All that can be identified and released quickly. The other second big category for dis-ease in the energy field are toxicities, cell phone radiation, Wi-Fi, medications, vaccinations. All these can be sources of the imbalance. So again, in energy medicine, we're looking at the holistic energy field, and we're seeking to restore balance and harmony. So yeah.
I like how you talked about cell phones and you talked about Wi-Fi. My great homeopathic doctor, Dr. Ian Noel, who I love and have a lot of respect for, who really broke down this whole energy concept years ago. When I met him straight out of college, I changed my diet in the late 90s. He introduced me to Tai Chi, Reiki. He also introduced me to just homeopathic healing. And one of the things that Dr. Noel introduced to me, Mark, and I would do this experiment all over because some people need to see it. You know what I mean? They need to see it. And so he would do this experiment with a cell phone. So he would put a cell phone in your hand, and then he would try to pull your fingers apart, and then your fingers would easily come apart. Then he would remove the cell phone and he would replace it with an orange or an apple or something with a high level of energy. And then you would put that in your hand, and you would see that you were unable to pull your fingers apart. And I would be blown away, didn't understand it. But he said, you know, you have this synthetic energy around you, which is the cell phone. And then you have this natural energy force around you, which is a banana or an apple. And I would show that to people, in particular, Mark, young children who are constantly on their cell phones, adults who are busy, and we all are busy. But I'm glad that you talked about the cell phone and the Wi-Fi, how that energy can drain you. One of the things that I learned from Jim Quick, I don't know if you're familiar with the speaker named Jim Quick, and he talks about these rituals in the morning. And he says one of the things that most of us do in the morning, Mark, is that we grab our cell phones. And he says what happens is when we grab our cell phones, we give away our authority. We give away our ability to start our day correctly, because then what we're doing is we're responding to all the things around us. With the world that we live in, with all this energy, cell phones and Wi-Fi, what are some strategies that we can do to protect ourselves from those negative energy forces?
Yeah, well, there are a variety of tips and strategies, and also I'm going to throw in the bucket, and I'll come back to it, is all the 5G that's being rolled out in some parts of the U.S. and abroad. So some things you can do is, I personally, I think, like you said, starting our daily routine. Most people, when they wake up, the most important thing is to make sure you're grounded. Because when we're asleep, many of us, our souls are traveling to other places. We come back, we're not always fully in our body. So something very easy your listeners can do is they can do this following exercise. Imagine a white light that comes from the heavens, that goes down through the middle of the head, the crown chakra, down the spine, all the way down the body through the feet, comes back up, goes through the heart, goes back down to the feet, back in the ground, and up, and all the way back up. And as you're doing that, imagine a protective white light around you, okay? And a lot of it is intentions. Our thoughts and our intentions are very, very powerful. So people can envision that they have this shield around them, protecting them from the 5G frequency. You know, in the introduction, you mentioned that I do host the People and Pet Show. I have had a number of remarkable guests, one being Virginia Rounds Griffiths from the UK. She talks about extensively things you can do, exercise you can do to protect yourself from 5G. And also there are other like energy pendants, things that, you know, of different price points that people can look into. But actually, I'd like to just come back to the most simple things. A lot of people can learn these tools of like envisioning that light around the protective white light to protecting them and the integrity of their field and the sovereignty of their field from these non-beneficial energies that really, really impact people. We're seeing that also. You mentioned the immune system. You know, we know, especially right now, it's so important to do all the physical things and energetic things to maintain a very strong immune system. And what they've known for a while is the Wi-Fi and the 5G. It does it scrambles the frequencies in the body, so your immune system's just not as strong, especially the 5G.
Wow. So listen, pay attention, my 5G folks who are excited about this whole 5G concept. Mark, how let's back up for a second. How did you get started in energy medicine?
Yeah, so it started out with my own life. For many years, I taught Spanish Hispanic studies at the college level for 20 plus years. And during my time as a college professor, a lot of unusual things were happening in my professional life that made no logical sense. So back in 2007, I picked up the phone and called my brother. My brother is a doctor of integrative medicine. So he's a medical doctor, but does a lot of other cool things from the energy world. So he blends the best of East and West to, in his case, to support his patients. He's had his own practice for 25 plus years. Anyway, called him, told him what was going on in my professional life. This is back in 2007. He suggested I work with an energy healer over the phone. At that time, I was living in Boston. The energy healer was out in New Mexico. I worked with this healer 2 1-hour sessions over 2 months. And what the result I saw when nothing was changing in my professional life, as I like to say, that proverbial frozen needle started to move. That got my attention. I was pretty stubborn. I thought I still could turn things around, and actually the pattern persisted. And so I called my brother back and said, hey, I want to learn that energy thing, because we all of us come into this lifetime with abilities to do this type of energy work, energy healing. And as I discovered, as you know, at that stage of my life, this was meant to come online big time. And as I was going through the cafeteria line to come down here, I was given extra gifts that were meant to come online. So that's kind of how I got started. Then from there, I did certifications in the emotion code, body code, advanced ash work. I learned something new every day and fold it into my practice.
So let's talk about your practice. What healing modalities do you practice?
Yeah. So I guess the most common, kind of my main go-tos, are the body code by Dr. Bradley Nelson. So the body code is an advanced energy medicine system in which the practitioner uses his or her intuition. I use my intuition. And the body code mind maps. These are a series of electronic charts to kind of identify and release non-beneficial energies. You know, as I said, that those things range from that emotional baggage to toxicity, but other things also from spiritual medicine. Sometimes people are really, really stuck. They're often being affected by spiritual things, such as entities, ghosts, curses, courting, other things along those lines. So that's one of my main tools for a lot of people. Then the people that have been on a more spiritual journey for a while, and maybe they're even healers themselves, they've been helping themselves, and they're really, really stuck. What I find is really beneficial for these clients is a modality called Topocan healing. Topocan healing was created by Dr. Karen Kan. Her first background, medical doctor. She then moved into the area of acupuncture, then did training and certification in the emotion code, body code, and kind of built out her own system from there, where Topocan healing works with the frequencies of the archangels. So it even is more comprehensive to the body code, includes things, people are being affected by things in the cosmos. And again, I've learned as a practitioner, I just follow the energy and let the changes show up, and it's often very amazing.
So once you confirm with the client, you bring that client on, what would a client typically experience during and after a consultation with someone like yourself?
Yeah, great question. So each consultation is unique. As I'm doing the work, many times clients feel changes on the spot or in short order by the end of the session. So let's just use something very concrete. Let's say it's a right shoulder pain. Okay, and this is something they've had for 20 years. Not that they just got hit by a car yesterday, you know, something kind of mysterious, something that comes and goes. So I've had people that have had right shoulder pain being at level 10. I've seen it go to a 5, a 2, a 0, often in 20 minutes. Again, and each person's experience will be unique, but usually people experience something, again, either pretty on the spot or within a day or two.
So how does an energy healer verify where the sickness or energy leak is in a person and with that you're trying to heal?
Yeah, great question. So let's just say it's someone that has digestive issues, okay? And they know, let's just say they know they have issues with their liver. Because often, as I always tell people, the type of work I do is not a replacement for excellent medical care. Always consult your medical professionals. So often people have done that and they're still stuck with their issue. So let's just say it's a liver issue, okay? So the medical doctors have given the formal diagnosis, X, Y, Z. Okay, what I do is I'll just call it the liver issue. I'll be working up with the energetics of that liver issue for that specific client. So when we call it up, it pulls up an energetic structure. And then in the energy medicine and energy world, we like to say anything can cause anything, okay? So I don't come in with preconceived notions, it's X, Y, or Z. I just ask the body. I connect with God, source, creator. I connect with the person's energy field, and I'm shown all sorts of things. Again, it may be what you think it is, or often it is not. And what I find is, especially now with the ascension, is, we all see everything's changing a lot quickly. That as our consciousness expands on the planet, both individuals and globally, what I find is that people are being affected by energies from their other timelines. For most people, this isn't their first rodeo on the planet, okay? Most people's souls have had other lifetimes. So what I'm seeing a lot more is sometimes it's from this current timeline, past life, parallel lives, future lives, in between lives. So I'll ask the body, and I just get drawn to a past life stuff. Oh, yeah, you got kind of stabbed in that area, what is the liver? Let's clear that energy, that trauma energy. Clear it and just keep on going. So I clear the stuff till the body will either say we're completely done with the issue or done for today. And I'll ask the person, touch that area, if it's something like digestion issues, they may feel lighter in that area. They may just feel, sensations in their head. It's different for everyone. And then I ask people just to track the change, what they notice in the upcoming days and weeks.
Well, so now you sort of stepped in my territory where I'm very interested. I'm sure you're familiar with Brian Weiss because you talked about past life regression and you talked about timeline. Can you explain, because the community we're thinking about right now, the timelines that they might be thinking about is their Facebook timeline or their Instagram timeline. Right. I actually went through a past life regression. I had a reading when I was in Connecticut. I was on the speaking tour. I was doing this anti-bullying tour, and man, Mark, this thing just drained me. It drained me so much. And I was in Whole Foods. I love Whole Foods. Shout out to Whole Foods. I always tell people to read community calendars. Walked over, Mark, to a community calendar, reading the board, and saw this, and I was always interested. I got a chance to see Brian Weiss do this live when I heard Dr. Wayne Dyer speak years ago prior to him transitioning. And I walked through that process, and it was amazing because there were a few things that I kind of knew that I needed some type of confirmation. Can you explain to us what this whole timeline piece is and past life regressions, and how do you sort of heal those individuals in that process?
Yeah. So like I said, I'm working with people kind of in the field of applied quantum physics. The quantum physicists have told us for years, I think since Einstein or even before, that, we're pure energy. And again, from a spiritual perspective, like I said, for most people, their soul, which is eternal, has had other incarnations, other lifetimes, okay? So yeah, I'm Mark in this current timeline. In my case, I know I've existed in other places and dimensions beyond this current timeline. So we have our current timeline, but we also exist in multiple universes at the same time. That's what quantum physicists have told us for a long time. So yes, we have some people call it the core timeline, our current timeline, Mark Hernandez in this current timeline. But I'm fully aware I've had past lives, so other incarnations of my soul. We also have parallel timelines. So these are, everything's in the quote unquote now. These are happening. So I'm, age 55. I have infinite number of parallel lives where sometimes I'm affected by energies happening in those parallel timelines. what I'm finding also is we have future timelines that can impact our now, and I sometimes see in between. So let me just go what you asked about specifically, past timelines. The way I work, again, I'm working usually with a specific issue, like I mentioned earlier, the digestive issues earlier. So really what I do, I don't do a past life regression like happens in many shamanic practices, or, because often past life regressions usually are an hour and a half. I'll just go with that specific issue and I'll get an intuitive hit with my connection with God, Source, Creator, my light team, the archangels. And they'll just say, yeah, that issue, one thing locking in place your digestive issues, like I said, you were disemboweled in one past life. And I'll ask, do we know anything more about that? Right now, we often don't. So I call on the light team to just do a clearing of that. 1, 2, 3, it's gone. Okay, so I per se, if people want like a detailed past life regression, per se, that's not what I do. I more kind of focus in on those energies that are impacting people in their quote unquote now timeline.
Mark, are you familiar with Mark Wolin? Does that author sound familiar?
No.
So he wrote a book called It Didn't Start With You, How Inherited Family Trauma Shapes Who We Are and How to End the Cycle. And in his book, I love this book, it talks about these inherited traumas that we've held on to, and we've gone to doctors, not like a practitioner like yourself, and the doctors and the therapists, they just couldn't figure it out. And so what he discovered is that a lot of times this stuff came from another time and space. It could be like, for example, Mark, you have an issue with your heart, and let's just say that a family member, an uncle, or somebody that you share the DNA with, that they might have been shot in the heart because they did something negative, or something that happened to a family member in your line, and he, in his work, he helps those individuals clear that. So I bring it up because I want to talk to you about how do you then, because he talks about his preparation in that process, how do you prepare for a client that's coming in to have a consultation? Walk me through, what do you do? For example, prior to you coming on my show or anybody else joining me in the bomb shelter, I do a silent prayer, silent meditation. I light a candle. I clear the space. I put out there what I actually want from the individual that's actually in my space, and what I expect for them to actually do. What do you do to prepare for your clients that are coming to sit down with you?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing I always check is that I'm a totally clear channel, as clear as humanly possible. Okay, so you're right. So something I like every morning, I use Dr. Karen Can. I mentioned her earlier, Topocan Healing. She has a couple Ascension products, 1 and 2, that kind of clear up your field. It's kind of like going through, I call it like the automatic car wash. You'll get 94% of the grime, and sometimes you need still to do the physical car wash for the other 6%. Also, I always make sure that I'm connected with God, Source, Creator. That I've cleared the space. Yeah, I'm a clear channel to receive, because, as I said earlier, all the healing comes from above, God, Source, Creator. I'm going to hold the space to connect God, Source, Creator with the client. So that's one important thing. 2, always make sure that when I'm talking to someone, I come in as a blank slate, in a space of neutrality. I listen to what they're saying, the words, but then I ask for divine guidance to show me what are really the energies that are locking in place. Because 2 people may have right shoulder pain, and often they're for completely different reasons. Okay, so that's another way I prepare for my client. So client tells me what's going on in their energetic world. I help people in 4 more main areas: health and wellness, area 1, area 2, money, finances, area 3, career, future, and area 4, relationships, intimate relationships, work relationships, family relationships. Often people's stuff will fall in these 4 main buckets, and sometimes they don't. So people give me that information, whatever's going on. I'm just going to use the right shoulder pain. I'll ask them to rate it. 0 is no pain, discomfort. 10 is pain to the max. Often if they're seeing me, they're level 8 or higher in the pain or discomfort level. So with that information, I'll tune into their field, see if they're energetically testable, which means their spine's aligned, they're properly hydrated so I can get accurate answers. 2, I test on myself, and then I always have to say a prayer. God, Source Creator, Archangel's Light Team, to be with me, to show me. And that's how I'll start the session and just ask the body. Reason for right shoulder pain, emotional stuff, grief, 5 years ago. You know, you mentioned ancestral stuff. That does come up. And I especially see when I'm working with people, like worked with a woman recently. She's had like lifetime issues with dating men, and Jewish. And it did, she says, and she's very intuitive, said, I think there's some trauma. I got an image of like barbed wire, and there was stuff from the Holocaust that was impacting her, that a lot of her relatives, female relatives, never got married because of the Holocaust. So again, anything can show up. I just stay open and receive the information and clear it and let the changes go where it may.
All right. So now, Mark, we want to move away from our two-legged humans. Now we're going to move to our four-legged and sometimes two-legged and sometimes no legs at all, the famous pets that you work with. I love animals. I probably could have used you some years ago when I took in a rescue animal, Hendrix, who was rescued because he was being abused. He was in Florida. An individual brought them to the East Coast, to Maryland, and then my children and I adopted. How did you then start working with pets, and how is that process similar and or different from working with human beings to our four-legged friends, cats, dogs, and all the other animals that are out there?
Sure. So how did I get started working with animals? So 2011, 2013, I was living and working in Taiwan. So I was the time teaching Spanish in an international school by day, and at night kind of putting on my cape and doing my certification for the emotion code. So one piece of the emotion code certification, the requirement was to do the practicum part, the last piece, where you work with at least 25 subjects, and at least 5 had to be animals. So at the time I was living and working in Taiwan, didn't speak Mandarin Chinese, having some challenges trying to find people, talk to this crazy Westerner that want to do some energy healing on them. So I was working on my certification, got stuck. And then one fateful day, a local Taiwanese friend called me and said, Mark, do you want to go ice skating on a Saturday? And I said, I haven't been in 25 years. I'm horrible, but I'll go. Anyway, going to the ice skating rink, we passed this business inside the ice skating rink. And when you see all these cats in the window, I said, what is this? So I went and looked. Of course, anyone that's been to Asia, often the first signs are in the local language, in this case, Mandarin, so I didn't read that. But then I saw the Capsule, the Cat Hotel. I went, I didn't even know these existed. I just intuitively know to go inside. Rang the bell, went inside. Turned out the owner was there. I asked her, I introduced myself. I said, can you refer me to an English-speaking, expat animal shelter where I can work with the animals for my certification? It'll help the animals. And anyway, turned out she was very open to what I was doing. She said, I'm very open to what you're doing. I have friends that are open to what you're doing. I'll book all your sessions here. You can do them all here at the Cat Hotel, and I'll be your translator. I said, what? So I went from stuck to working with over 25 animals over a 3-week period at the Cat Hotel in downtown Taipei. So as I was working with them, I said, when I get back to the U.S. to establish my practice, I really want animals to be an integral part. Everyone said, Mark, you got to do people or animals. You can't do both. And I've always been the one to do what I want. So no, I'm going to do both. So that's how I got started with animals. To your second question. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's your turn.
Yeah, I was going to, is the session similar or different? Actually, the sessions are very similar. The difference being it's obviously the pet parent that often brings me their dog or cat, most commonly, occasionally a horse or a chicken. So same thing, they'll tell me what's going on. The animal, is often, having a change in behavior. That's the most common reason. So you have a dog or cat starts peeing and pooing the household, or the dog starts experiencing separation anxiety or more. So with that information, I get the permission of the pet. I have a record of like 99.8, few outliers over the last 10 years. Tune into them, and same thing. I'm talking to the energy body of the animal. Say reason for this peeing and pooing issue, emotional. Excuse me. Identify and release it. What I find with animals can definitely have their own life issues. Okay, definitely can have that. But often they absorb the energies going on in a household. So if there's some workplace stress, fighting, the animals take on those energies and get out of whack themselves. And let me add, lately, especially over the last month, the animals are especially serving, I call them as like the canaries in the coal mine. So I'm tracking something, the animal's lighting up something. No, they haven't absorbed that energy, but they want me to do some healing on the pet parent, okay? So, so that's how a session typically works for an animal.
So, Mark, so we have some amazing folks who listen to our show, and I want them to stay connected to you. How can our bombers get in contact with you? Yeah,
so the best way is you can go to my website, which is People and Pets Energetics, peopleandpetsenergetics.com. If you put it in your favorite search engine, you'll definitely pull up my site. You can also check out my Facebook business page for People and Pets Energetics. They like to pick up the phone. They give me a call at 210-775-2696.
So, Mark, during this pandemic that we're witnessing across the country, I just recently had a Dr. Durr come on, who's a psychiatrist, who's actually from your area as well, and she talked about anxiety. A lot of folks are being stressed out. Can you, before you get out of here, can you leave our listeners with some things that they can start doing immediately to really, really keep them focused on just the being in the present moment? What are some things that you can leave with our bombing community?
Yeah, some very actionable things that people can do. One, practice, especially now, the expression of gratitude on a daily basis. Find 3 things in the morning and the evening that you can be grateful for. That is one thing we can do to return us to the present moment. 2, things you mentioned at the top of the show, especially now, be mindful of what you're eating. Eat healthier food. As you said, as much as possible, take a walk in your local neighborhood while still practicing social distancing. And the last thing, I would encourage people to cut back on their consumption of news and social media. A lot of those things are infused with fear and anxiety. Again, we all want to be informed, and we should be, and that's important. But I think for most people, if they're watching the news a lot or social media that's kind of fear-based, cut back off that and see what they notice.
Well, I know, just like you, my work has been impacted because of lack of travel and lack of being able to meet with my clients. Are you able to do any of your work virtually? If so, how does that work? How do you do that?
Yeah, in fact, before COVID, I do 95% of my work by phone or video technology. I'm a remote healer. And now with COVID, it's 100%. So yeah, I've always had a virtual practice. I've done before COVID, I would do in-person consultations like at Holistic fairs, Body, Mind, Spirit, or different local fairs in Chicago or San Antonio, wherever I've been. So in that sense, the practice hasn't changed. Of course, right now, a lot of people, there's a lot of fear, anxiety. People are kind of, we're seeing now, a lot of people are losing their jobs. So they're kind of, watching how they're spending. But as far as the daily practice, I'm able to do 100%. So the way it works, again, I work in the field of quantum physics. In quantum physics, there's no time, space, or distance. It's all about the now. And with the permission of another individual or an animal or a space, I can connect with the energy, connect with God Source Creator, and remotely see, intuitively know what's going on with them and clear it. So, I'm grateful because, a lot of people, that had physical, practices walk in are being greatly impacted, or the people like you or others that, did a lot of their events in person, live speaking, are kind of shifting over to virtual. And I'd like to share a resource that may be beneficial for people.
Sure.
I'm currently part of a 21-day challenge sponsored by Pete Vargas. It's called the Rise Up Community Challenge. It's going on. It's about day 8 right now at this time. But he's bringing on a lot of people of how people can pivot their businesses, how to digitize, virtualize a lot of the things they've been doing. So he's going to be holding a conference at the end of the month where it's going to be the first time, often if we attend virtually a conference, we just kind of watch on a live stream. No, he's going to be putting the attendees in breakout rooms through Zoom. So I think it's very innovative. So like you said earlier at the beginning of the show with your guest that was making the African mask out of African material, people are being creative. And I think this is a great opportunity to say, okay, what's the blessing in this situation that is challenging for a lot of people? And I think when everything's said and done, when all the dust settles, I think we'll be stronger after this. And, we got some rainy days ahead, but we'll get through this.
And we will get through this. And so I want to just thank you for joining me in the bomb shelter, Mark. But before you get out of here, we have to do my favorite part of the show. It is called the Super Bomb Questions. And what I'm going to do is, Mark, I'm going to ask you some quick questions, and I want you to respond as quickly as possible. It's not called the super slow. It's called the Super Bomb Questions. Rápido, por favor. ¿Entiendes, verdad? Got it? Here we go, Mark. See, here we go, Mark. What is your favorite word?
Intuition.
What's your favorite quote?
Favorite quote. It ain't over till it's over.
What's your superpower?
The ability just to know things.
What moves you to tears of joy?
Seeing people get out of really impossible situations and they're better.
What moves you to tears of sorrow?
The divisiveness we see in the world and the country.
What do you wish you had more time to do?
More international travel.
What is the best or most worthwhile investment you've ever made? It could be an investment of money, time, energy, etc.
Investment 3 years ago, my 6-week trip to Bali.
Give me 3 things you do in your morning routine.
I listen to Dr. Karen Khan's MP3s for Ascension. I practice gratitude, and I plan my day.
And if you were in the Mr. America talent competition, what would your talent be?
Energy healings for animals.
Well, Mark, you have been amazing. Bombers, I told you that he was going to bring it, and he did not let us down. Mark, thank you for joining me in the bomb shelter. I pray and hope that your practice grows, and I thank you for spending some time with me. I know you're busy, so thank you for joining me.
Thank you, LaMarr. Thank you for the community for listening, and let me know if I can be of help. Thank you.
And I would also like to thank my engineer, Alec Blanc, my producer, Kimberly Peterson, Supremacy for our theme music, and all of you for listening. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and stop being stingy, and share me. We're on all the podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, iTunes. You can find us, share us with your friends. If you want to know more about me, you can visit my site, drlamardarnellshields.com or www.drlds.com. And as always, believe that something wonderful is about to happen and that some people miss the message because they're too busy looking for the mess. Thanks for tuning in, and do something for someone other than yourself today. You've been listening to Sound Bombing. Peace.